wastelands of the internet, I have come once again to provide you stories on enlightenment in a weary, weary world. These are stories that you may or may not have seen, things that people may or may not be aware of, most likely not, as people have been, for the most part, hidden away, although a few stories you may recognize. And since it's just me today, good morning, Marine. Tara Marino, nice to see you. I will be going all Adante today. There'll be no co-host right now, and I'm doing this a little bit later than I normally do because I just want to get a stream up. But let's get started. 3 university marching band members hit and killed by a truck while changing a tire, police say. Natchitoches Parish. I'm not trying to butcher that. Nacogdoches, maybe. Parish. 3 members of the Louisiana University marching band were killed in a crash while they had stopped to change a tire Tuesday night, according to authorities. Kendrick Taylor, the director of the band's Louisiana Southern University and A&M College, said that the students killed were tuba players. The third was a percussionist. Louisiana State Police said that the victims were identified as 19-year-old Broderick Moore, 19-year-old Tyron Williams, and 21-year-old Dylan Young. A report from the LS Louisiana State Police obtained by WAFB said the students were stopped on the shoulder of Interstate 49 attempting to change a flat tire on the vehicle as they were working a 1997 Freightliner driven by 62-year-old Clyde Gay reportedly drifted onto the shoulder and hit their Jeep, striking all 3 of the students. Williams, Moore, and Young all suffered fatal injuries and were pronounced dead at the scene by the first responders. Police said that Gay did not suffer any injuries, with the cause of the crash remaining under investigation. Dennis Shields, president of LSU, sent a message to the staff, students, and families of the university, sharing his condolences with those afflicted by the loss of the students. Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards also posted condolences on social media. Now, this is a tragic story, and I can hear people going now, no, man, what's the import of this story? 3 people are dead, folks. 3 people who were just doing what anybody could have been doing. Okay? And I'm going to be real blunt when it comes to changing tires on the internet. It is dangerous. I recently had to change a tire for my daughter, right, on one of the internets out here in Arizona, on Interstate 10. And it was fairly late at night. It was like 11:30 in the evening, 11:30 p.m. So traffic wasn't as heavy as you would normally think about the traffic being. Okay? But the problem, and give me a second here. Close this door so we got a little bit more privacy with the audience. Right? If you can avoid it, it's great. If you can avoid changing tires on the internet, it's great. But at night, my arms are too short. At night, it is scary as hell. Because you don't realize even when I was all the way, I forced her car. She stopped on the shoulder. I took the car a little bit further off the shoulder, so it was completely off the shoulder, although I had to stand a bit on the shoulder to change the tire. And it was frightening, some of the cars when they'd go zipping by, because they're not slowing down. They are not slowing down. And now in this case, we don't know what happened. We don't know if the guy was drunk. We don't know the situation. Okay. If you have flares, this is what flares and warning triangles and all that stuff were created to carry in your car for, so you could give people extra warning and so forth. It's not going to help you if it's a drunk driver, though. But it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for the band. I mean, LSU is going to go to a bowl game. You know, these students were probably looking forward to participating in that, and you know, unfortunately, their lives are cut short. Sad state of affairs. On to the next story. Biden unveils $36 billion for one of America's largest and most troubled pension funds. So it's okay to use my tax money now to go bail out somebody else who was living high in the hog with the pension funds and the unions and were mismanaged by the unions, right? Now I've got to bail them out too? Tell me, which unions got bailed out? Well, let's take a gander, shall we? Let's take a gander at this. The White House is sending $36 billion to buttress the Central States Pension Fund, one of the biggest and most troubled funds that manages pensions for over 350,000 union workers and retirees. The pending announcement on Tuesday comes about 21 months after President Biden promised $86 billion to the troubled multi-employer pension funds via a controversial provisions tucked into the American Rescue Plan. Oh, what a surprise! What we have is a money laundering situation going right back into my pocket, into the pocket of all the other taxpayers, straight to their union thugs. And of course, then into the DNC coffers. When you can't raid the pension funds, well, we'll just raid the federal treasury, right? The check from Washington is a note of finality in decades-long push to shore up these troubled plans, which had fallen on hard times as blue-collar industries they represent shrank. Well, whose fault is that? The very Democrats who are doing it. Critics also charge that mismanagement played an important role in their decline. Really, one cannot underestimate the significance of this assistance for basic economic security and dignity for union workers in their retirement years, said Gene Sterling, the Biden aide who oversees the enactment of the American Rescue Plan. In other words, we're going to raid your funds, we're going to raid your 401ks so we can go ahead and shore up, all right, some union thug pension funds, right? Is that what we're doing here? So let's go on down to the bottom of this. We're talking about where these are, all right? And the final one, we finally get to hear it, but the shortfalls quickly piled up, and retirees at the Central States Pension Fund, who are mostly Teamsters, who held jobs in truck driving, construction, food processing, have been facing possible benefit cuts of 60% or more. Oh my! Oh my! All right, the Teamsters, one of the most corrupt organizations, the AFL-CIO, is ready there while their big union bosses drive around in friggin' limousines in our money suits. We gotta bail out their pension funds because they're gonna get cuts in their retirement. Their pension funds right now, I don't care if they get a 60% cut in their pension funds. You want to know why? Because 60% cut in their pension funds will bring it down to everybody else's. They get full-bore pensions for health care. They don't have to pay health care dime in their older ages. And these were being managed by the damn union. Who the hell's fault is that? Who? The union workers and the union retirees. Because you put these crooks in there and then you go up there, you know what? We can't, well, our crooks are okay, but we need to steal money from you now. We want to become crooks ourselves. But those people who get the 401ks, well, we're going to jack your taxes up. We're going to punish you for having a 401k. Oh, there's no political corruption here. Here's another pension fund that's probably being paid for, to be honest. I don't know. I'm not eligible. F it. New York Times staffers to stage first strike in over 40 years on Thursday. More than 1,000 New York Times staffers, excuse me, not New Yorker, but New York Times staffers, vowed not to work on Thursday in its newsroom, the union said, marking the first strike in over 40 years at the organization. The one-day work stoppage comes as contract negotiations between management and the members of the News Guild, which represents 1,450 Times staffers, including 1,270 newsroom employees, have stalled for nearly 2 years over pay and benefits. Both sides were still negotiating on Wednesday, but they both said that talks ended early in the evening. In a separate memo on Wednesday evening, Chief Executive, Meredith Kopik-Levin and Executive Editor Joseph Kahn expressed disappointment about the walkout. Strikes typically happen when talks are deadlocked. This is not where we are today. Really? I'm hearing a 50% tax proposed on Social Security. Sort of care, but that's not much. Anyway, yeah, it's interesting, right? Now, what are their what are they bitching about? Negotiations have centered around pay, retirement, and other benefits. The company recently offered a choice between keeping a pension plan or selecting a new 401k plan, a change from its initial proposal of replacing the pension with a 401k. Really, because pensions go bankrupt. We don't want this to happen. We want you to manage your own freaking money. All right? No. We can't do that. We want our pension plan. We want our free ride medical. That's what this is about. As they jack up prices for medical costs on everybody, these people, they don't want to have to be paying a dime on it. I'll tell you right now, they did a one-day walkout. A one-day walkout is freaking useless. You're not trying to get a point across. But see, they don't dare walk out for any length of time because they know what will happen. They really walk out, they'll be out of jobs. Every freaking one of them. It won't take long. Now, from a show I've never heard about, Wednesday casting backlash brings up racism issues. Really. After fans took to Twitter to air out their frustrations about the show's casting decisions Wednesdays, all right, casting backlash brought forth a discussion about racism. Despite its popularity after its release, Wednesday became a trending topic when social media users noticed that some actors were chosen for a bully or villain role. Viewers were quick to point out at executive producer Tim Burton about the possible decision flaw that overshadowed the immense success of the series. I have never even heard of this. Wednesday? Okay. Viewers of the show noticed that 3 black characters, Joy Sunday, Amon Marson, and Tommy Earl Jenkins, were cast for villainous or bully roles. And so, okay, but see, they come back with ridiculous comments. Why is a black girl in Wednesday's school an aggressive bully, though? Tim Burton is a known racist. No surprises there. Oh, he's a known racist. This really took off. What TV film characters have you seen that have cast a black person but not thought about how their blackness would have affected the character? A black mayor who owns a museum celebrating pilgrims and colonizer in the hashtag Wednesday is really wild for me. So a black person can't be a patriot, according to John Cornejo, right? Has to be a liberal leftist move. Black mayor couldn't possibly be conservative, couldn't possibly support the country, couldn't possibly want the country celebrated. I'm so tired of characters that are played by a black actor but are written as white, where the director has done nothing with how their blackness would have impacted their journey or their role in society. This colorblind approach is not the one. It's given a diversity hire. Really? Thought that's what you wanted. Thought we all wanted to have groupthink. Thought we all wanted to think alike. I see, but if you're not actually hating the country, if you're not actually spitting on Whitey, can't have that. Can't have a black person thinking for themselves. I'm so sorry. I'm supposed to know how about every garbage show get bent. In shocking news, from lifenews.com. Huge wave of liberal men are getting vasectomies to protest overturning Roe v. Wade. A large Planned Parenthood affiliate has been doing more sterilizations on men this fall since the U.S. Supreme Court ruled on Dobbs versus Jackson's Women's Health. Dr. Grace I don't know how to pronounce it, director of vasectomy services for Planned Parenthood Great Northwest, told KIRO 7 News that they had seen a 34% increase since the June abortion ruling, according to Fox News. Say said one man told her that he believed having a vasectomy was an act of love. Others apparently never wanted to have children. Men are interested in learning about contraception and learning about a vasectomy. I think the change in our political climate brought ideas and motivations that were there, but to the surface, she said. Okay. Good morning, Shari. Good morning, Shari. Or afternoon, evening, however you want to look at it. Late evening. So it's supposedly liberal men. Well, how do we know that these are liberal men? And how do we know that it has anything to do with Roe v. Wade? Okay, you made the claim. You claim that this was a protest, right? Now I happen to have friends who have had vasectomies, and quite frankly, later on in life, absolutely regretted it. I have a good friend who got divorced, all right, married a new wife, really loved his wife, and his wife wanted to have kids, and he went through the quote-unquote vasectomy reversal that didn't work. Because vasectomies are problematic. I'm not telling anybody not to get a vasectomy. If you want to get a vasectomy, if you don't want to have children, I understand. If you want to get a hysterectomy, if you want to get a tubal ligation, all right, those are decisions that you can make on your own. Just understand the seriousness of any procedure that's being performed on you. Even things like cosmetic surgery are things that people need to be talked about. Baby trap, divorce, rape, parental alienation. I think that many men are tired of all of that. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you. And it is going to cause issues going forward. Now, if it was just liberal men, I'd say go for it. Abortion is healthcare. No, abortion isn't healthcare. It's murder. That's the reality of it. From the Daily Beast, U.S. spy Anne Sokolis avoids prison time in British teen Harry Dunn's death. This is an update story, folks. London, former U.S. spy, right, Anne Sokolis, right, avoided jail Thursday when she was sentenced to 8 months in prison, suspended for 12 months for the wrongful death of 19-year-old Harry Dunn in August of 2019. She did not attend her sentencing hearing on Thursday after the U.S. government, described in court documents as her employer, advised her not to. There's an intense feeling of emptiness in the pit of my stomach without Harry around, said Dunn's mother, Charlotte Charles, right, in the courtroom at the Old Bailey during the sentencing Thursday. His passing haunts me every minute of every day, and I'm not sure how I will ever get over it. Another witness who came onto the accident told the court Sokolis admitted fault and was crying at the side of the road, so it wasn't a hit and run. All right, it had been described by several people as a hit and run, but apparently not. Dunn, who had been thrown over the Volvo and whose motorcycle had caught on fire, pleaded, "Please don't let me die." All right. As the Dunn family read statements, Sokolis could be seen wiping her eyes. Her family, well, how the hell could you? She wasn't there. Okay. Maybe I missed something. Okay. She did not attend the sentencing hearing on Thursday. Okay. As the Dunn family read statements, Sokolis could be seen wiping her eyes. Her lawyer, Ben Cooper, said attending the trial was beyond her control and a decision taken entirely by the U.S. government. Okay. First of all, hi, Jacob. I do, and who do I need to give a wrench to? No, Shorty doesn't get a wrench. All right. They're describing her as a spy. She's not a spy. Okay. The attitude that she's a spy. No, she worked for the department, the Department of State, the State Department. Okay. Oh, but she's a spy. She's one of those secret people. She's got diplomatic immunity. So only people with diplomatic immunity are spies? Really? Just because you see me on streams once in a while doesn't mean I'm actually haven't been working. I understand that. It's good to have a job. And this is after hours from my job, so that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this right now. No, Badger, sexism is showing. It's 2022. Come on, I can't keep up with the times. I realize what year it is. All right. In this case, what happened is the woman was working late. She was coming home. She was living in London, or Britain, rather. I don't get a wrench because I am a cyborg and a fairy that MC sang a song about murdering. Good times. There's no evidence of any song. Absolutely none. By the way, with all of that, by the by, back to this story here. She was tested. She was not drunk. She had just gotten tired and was driving on the wrong side of the road. Okay? Greta the Climate Guard live by the sea. That was not sung. We did not create the song. I was working on a song like that. Only because YouTube deleted your old channel. There's no evidence, Sharadi. I know nothing about what you're talking about. The woman here, though, look, I don't know if anybody understands this, but when you're tired, you start doing things by rote. Okay? And in the United States, we drive, okay, on the right side of the road. Like damn near everybody else in the world, except the British who want to drive on the left. Okay? Now I'm not blaming Britain for this. Okay? But this is a tragedy. This is not a crime. This is a tragedy. I've been locked out of the Mystery of the Plague. It's still up, but I've been locked out. And it's unfortunate this woman had to go through something like this. But the idea that somehow she should have been charged with a crime, all right, for something that is a normal human thing that led to a tragedy. You know, this is where we are at in the world. Once upon a time, we'd say understand that this was a tragedy. Yes, the person got hurt badly. I understand it. Yes, this family is owed restitution from the United States government. You won't hear me saying that very often. But in this case, they have a case against the United States government. But this should not be a criminal case. Okay? That's the way and I know that the Brits don't understand that. They don't understand the difference between civil liability and criminal liability. I don't think this woman was criminally negligent. I think she was just normally tired. Mail carrier drivers, rural right drivers. Let's go on to the next story from Britain. Army fury as soldiers told to give up their Christmas to cover striking workers. Not right to expect the armed forces personnel to fill in for people in public sector who earn more than them, say senior military figures. Don't disagree. Soldiers should not be made to give up Christmas to cover for striking NHS workers who earn more than them, senior military figures told the ministers. The government is set to rely on hundreds of armed forces personnel to stand in for border force officers at airports during 8 days of strikes this December and potentially to cover for ambulance drivers, firefighters as well. It's really simple. You tell people if they want to have these jobs, they've got to be in the military, and you have the military take it completely over. I guarantee you, if you told these workers and these guys that are part of these ambulance drivers that in order to do their jobs, all right, if they continue the strike, they're going to have to join the military because they're going to completely turn that over as military work. Bet they'll change their friggin' minds then. You only got to look at a soldier on 22 pounds a year, all right? And those pay scales have not kept up with 22,000 pounds a year? Holy shit! A private in the U.S. Army isn't getting 22,000. How do you feel about the government screwing the union rail workers? Okay, that's a good, interesting question. Right? the the rail workers, right, are not innocent in what's happening. Okay, but they are not at fault either. Understand this. You got to take a look at why when I support unions and when I don't. When a union screams less work for more money, I'm not in support of the union. If that's all they're screaming about, okay. In the case of what's happening to the rail workers right now, there are some serious freaking health and safety issues that are involved in these rails, okay? Because these guys, they're on these trains and they don't even know how long they're going to be on the train, when the train is going to stop, how long it's going to take for them to come back. All right, their lives, all right, have to revolve around a schedule that doesn't exist. Something that's completely out of their control. They might be out for 24 hours. They may be out for an entire freaking week, depending upon whether or not the tracks are open for their stuff to get through. I made at most 11,000 a month to take home. All right, in the United States Marine Corps. I know, man. So $42,000 a year, comparatively good money. You got to remember though, they're basically getting raped for half of it. Goes straight to their to taxes to pay for their health care. Really, their health care is being paid. But the rail guys, all right, those issues have to be addressed. Right. The problem is that in order to actually effectively address those issues, you've got to take away the regulations, all right, and you've got to fix those rails, right? And the government is preventing that from happening. There are plenty of places where they need, for example, between Tucson and Phoenix right now, there's a single track. So what happens is the trains going one way, you have to pull over to the siding if a train's going coming from the other way. Now they have proposed repeatedly. I've watched this go through the things here, right? They've proposed that 100-mile stretch between Tucson and Phoenix to double track it. In fact, it should be double tracked across the United States. There's no reason to have single track working anywhere, except for the fact that the government has gotten involved in managing all of this. And for you to lay railroad tracks from Tucson to Phoenix, well, we need this study, we need this environmental impact study, we need a usage wastage study, we need billions of dollars of paperwork done that we then review, and if we don't think it's enough, we're going to request it again and again and again until we're satisfied, and the company is going to pay each and every time they submit that. Just like miners. I will never argue that unions should be out of mines. The problem that I have with what their union did, though, is their union went back to the old saw. They did nothing to fix the problems of these guys being out away from home for an untold amount of time without any kind of consistency, all right, in their lives. They did nothing to fix any of that. They were just like, okay, we'll give you more money so more money can go to union dues. So there are real problems here. Like I said, I feel for the workers because they are getting gypped. They are getting screwed. But by the same token, you should have had a better union, number one. And you should have sit up there and told the union what is a priority for you. Do you want to be home? Do you want to schedule? Do you want these things to work? Or do you just want to sit up there and just give more money and say, well, if we give you enough money, will you just shut up and go away? Because if that's all you're in it for, then I'm not going to have any sympathy for you. 1100, not 11 grand. And it was hazardous duties pay on deployment. That's true. I remember when I first went in, I was getting my salary for the month. For the month was $800 and something. That was the salary. Here's a shock to everyone. From The Guardian. Iranian forces are shooting at the faces and genitals of female protesters, medics say. Iranian security forces are targeting women with anti-regime protests with shotgun fire to their faces, breasts, and genitals, according to interviews with medics across the country. Doctors and nurses are treating demonstrators in secret to avoid arrest, said they first observed the practice after noticing that women often arrived with different wounds to men, who are more commonly had shotgun pellets in their legs, buttocks, and backs, because the men were turning and running. Okay? When the people pull a gun, the men immediately turn and run, and what do they do? Well, they run right by the women who are behind them initially, and then turn to realize, oh crap, now I'm in the front lines when the bullets start flying and the shotgun pellets start going. The Guardian has spoken to 10 medical professionals who warned about the seriousness of the injuries that could leave hundreds of young Iranians with permanent damage. Shots to eyes of women, men, and children are particularly common, they said. One physician from the central Isfahan province, Isfahan, said he believed that the authorities were targeting men and women in different ways because they wanted to destroy the beauty of these women. Birdshot at 100 yards hits everywhere. Birdshot at 50 yards hits pretty much everywhere, too. It's not a long range weapon, but it is a calming thing. It does do those things. Okay, quick end of the story. Quick final story of the day. It's amazing how much faster my stories go when I'm not interrupted by Batman or just chatting with Jetson. If it was Buckshot, there'd be more dead than wounded. That's very true. No, I'll be honest with you. Would it surprise me if there are Iranian soldiers doing that? No, it wouldn't surprise me if they were targeting men and women differently. But it's also a consequence of they're just trying to put the riots down. Right? Now, that may sound flippant, and I don't mean it to. But if it sounds like I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for them, well, quite frankly, I don't. I do and I don't. I understand that they're going to have to overthrow a brutal regime. Okay? I understand that. But it's also a regime that these people hopefully yes. Man, you're in a bad mood today, Darren. Flechettes are something we don't use anymore, technically. We used to have beehive rounds. We don't use beehive rounds anymore. And yes, they are wickedly effective. You are correct. But back to the Iranians. You want me to cry about the Iranian regime that they installed with the Ayatollah Khomeini? Now these people are young. Maybe they weren't a part of it at the time. But guess what? Who are you going to blame? You had no problem, a few years ago screaming death to America. Okay? Going out there in millions and mass waves to sit up there and protest, screaming death to Satan, death to the great Satan America. Had no problem doing that. Had no problem obeying the regime. Now when you realize that the regime is never going to modernize, that if people are going to keep being repressed repeatedly, and that all the promises that the Ayatollahs gave you were just that, promises in name only? Now the realization that, hey, there's so much more out there in the world than to sit up there and praise the Ayatollah day in and day out. Even worse, you're starting to realize that these Ayatollahs, that they want to bring on the 12th Imam, right? In other words, they want to bring on the apocalypse. That they see it as a fight of apocalyptic proportions, and they want to sit there and bring it on. Sure, we look weak. We have leaders that are feckless. I'm not going to deny that. But what's the result? The result is now is, wait a minute here, I don't want to die in a ridiculous war like this. Holy shit, the Americans can kill us whenever they want. Yeah, we could. But what are you going to do about it? How are you going to change this? This is what you had wanted. You wanted a return to this kind of life. And that's the way it is right now. You're just going to have to deal with that fact. It is what it is. Good luck, folks. That's all I got to say. Final story of the day. Escaped puppy crosses the Hudson River from New York to New Jersey. Really? I hope this. I hope the pooch knew what it was doing. A puppy that escaped from his owner in New York was seen entering the Hudson River and was later rescued when he was discovered hiding under a New Jersey pier. I gotta wonder about the owner here. The dog is like, holy shit, I'm risking the river and running to Jersey. Feckless Fridays, that's the word of the day. Ellen Wolpin said Bear, the dog's name is Bear. You sure it wasn't Beer? Bear, the puppy, who is in training to be a seizure service dog for her son, pulled free from his collar while she was walking him Saturday on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. I think we gotta find out why the dog didn't like Ellen. Right? Bear ran about 30 blocks to where witnesses saw the puppy entering the Hudson River. Days passed without any further sightings, and Bear's owners feared the worst. We didn't think he made it across, Wolpin told the New York Post. It wasn't until just after midnight on Tuesday that the Edgewater Fire Company in New Jersey responded to a report of a barking underneath an Independence Harbor pier and ended up plucking a puppy out of the water. The puppy was soon identified as the missing Bear thanks to a microchip. Bear was returned to his family. We are so happy, Wolpin said. The dog has had tons of treats and tons of hugs, and we're just doing everything possible. Okay. Then why did the dog run? Chow Chows look kind of like bears. That might be true, but this doesn't look like a chow. This poor dog looks like a freaking drowned rat. Dog ran away because he was tired of the peanut butter. It's a good question. It's a good question. Oh my goodness. Well, that was the final story. I didn't have anybody else here with me today. All right, I wanted to do something very quickly before tomorrow. Hope that you all enjoyed it. Thanks for coming on, everybody. I'll talk to you all later. Bye-bye, everyone.